to the cloud. And there we go. All right, well, welcome everybody. This is the official after show. It is on Facebook and will be on all the other channels later, like YouTube. You are very welcome to come and join us. And both Derek and myself changed our backgrounds, which is pretty cool. I've gone from the carte blanche background to the Jaffe Juice TV in-home studio, as you can see. So Derek, let me just make sure you are unmuted. There we go. You are unmuted.
Do you like my background?
I do. Well, you've gone from completely in the dark to now you're just a floating head in space.
Yeah. No, nice show you run there. Hey, I think it's great.
So this is my attempt to be more like you.
No. I think a lot better in many respects. I think you ask more intelligent questions for a start.
That's you just trying to disarm me. No, but
No, it's true. I mean, I think why I say that is because with carte blanche, it's a sort of show where you have to ask very basic questions because you haven't got much time for it. So if we do an insert, it's normally about 10 minutes. So, and we normally have like 5 people on it. So after links and everything else, each person's got about 1 minute 30. So, so if you ask a very long question, you're eating into that 1 minute 30. So the questions by nature have to be very sharp and yeah, because you see, if you've got an hour like this, then I think it's great that you've got that technique for asking those more in-depth questions, which works perfectly.
Well, there were also a couple of things, which is when I started doing this, I would freak out if there was like a technology issue. And today I just sent a quick comment and I said, look, we're just dealing with a few gremlins. I've become a lot more relaxed and chilled about it. And yeah. I think the point is, I tell you where this comes from, Derek. As I get all of my insight these days from Howard Stern interviews,
is that a good thing?
I think so, because he's an incredible interviewer. He was interviewing George Stephanopoulos, and they were talking about their different approaches. And George was talking about how he interviewed Joe Biden, and that was he said that was one of the longest segments. I think it was 9 minutes. He said most segments are 3 minutes, and he said there's no nuance. There's no subtlety. You just have to go straight for the jugular. Did you have sex with that woman? There's no foreplay. Yeah. There's no, and I think I really do love the fact that even though I tried initially to say it would be a 30-minute show and then 30 minutes on Zoom, now I do cap it at an hour, but why would I need to? If the conversation is and my guest is engaged, why would I need to?
Exactly. I think it's the difference between what we do and having an hour show, which I'd love to have. Who's with us here? I see some people.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
I'll let everyone introduce themselves if they want to.
So I'm Jan.
How's it going?
I'm a regular here, Jan Zlotnick. I'm a marketer and a brander in the U.S., New York area. And
good to meet you, Jan. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek, for meeting you and seeing your work. Thank you.
Great. And fortunately, we've had a few stories in the States. I've enjoyed being there. But these days don't get as often as we like. Now they say just do a Skype, do a Zoom interview.
Yes.
And who else is Stuart? Is it?
Hi, Derek.
How's it? How's it going? Yeah, man.
Yeah, good. We're in Johannesburg. My son Justin is here. Hello. With me.
Hey, Justin, how's it going?
All good, thanks. We're big fans. Really enjoy your show. I've grown up with carte blanche, so it's a treat to see you being interviewed by Joseph. And also interesting to hear your perspective on journalism. I think Joseph and our friends in America sometimes get a little bit influenced by maybe one news agency versus another. So, you know, a balanced journalism is something that we like and respect, and very interested to hear your views around CNN and Fox. And you're right, we don't get Fox. Pity.
I'd like to get the balance, eh?
Yeah, balance is important.
Is Terry in South Africa?
No, Terry's downstairs from me right now.
That's Terry. Terry, how are you doing? She got no sound. They got no sound. You're not allowed to.
What happened to the sound? I think she's you know, we're trying.
I think you've got her on mute, eh?
No, I think I'd prefer to mute Stuart right now than Terry. I'm just kidding. But you know, this is the great power that I have, and we've got a few people. You know, one of the things about this, Derek, is the after show is an interesting innovation and evolution as part of this approach. It's not just a web show, but it's the after show that I think is kind of unique and special. And I encourage people to, as there are several people right now that are what I call cloaking as opposed to decloaking, that they can just listen in and enjoy it and feel like they're part of this discussion. And if they want to ask a question, they can. So, for example, my Bob Farnham, who's one of the regulars, and that's the other weird thing about the after show. We have people that are on almost every day. And then some people just prefer still to sit back and watch it on Facebook and YouTube and not interact live. And that's okay too.
Yeah, you were saying how you feel a lot more relaxed now. And I think webinars have taught us that, because there obviously are, when I normally go to a studio when it's live, when I say when it's live, it's because it hasn't been live for like 3 months now. So we now record in our office. When it's live, everything has to be so perfect. You know, if you take one step to the left instead of the right, or you looked at slightly the wrong camera, you know, everybody goes crazy. But with webinars, you have problems. I mean, people drop out, you lose signal. So I think you learn to just ride with it. And I've been doing webinars. I only started, with lockdown, but I do one a week on property. And I know the first one I was so nervous about everything being perfect, but it isn't perfect. You know, you're not going to get it perfect. And I think it's better to have a bit of fun and, ride the technical difficulties and get around them with a bit of humor. And we also do the same thing. We have an after show, but not really for the guests. It's more for the team that puts it together, because it's quite a big team. There's probably about 8 of us that put it together. But yeah, I think we've all learned a bit through lockdown. What are you allowed to do and what can't you do where you are?
Well, I mean, I think the challenge right now is that there is, we talk about journalism and we talk about media and we talk about objectivity, and the idea of a balanced perspective. The reality is, and I'll just, build on what Stuart was saying, is that we really don't know what to think anymore. We don't really know what to believe. It's actually a very scary time to be not just alive, but present, where even with this deep faking going on, we're not even sure if we're seeing the person and their lips are moving and the voice coming out is theirs, if that in fact is them. And what I'm alluding to is with respect to leadership or the lack thereof. Everything is opening up here, and as things are opening up, the numbers are spiking. And is that just the media spinning it and trying to scare us, or in fact, is that the reality? And I think it's scary.
Yeah, one of the problems, Joseph, is the truth is hard to find at this moment. So what have you got? You've got a virus that is still being discussed by scientists in different terms. I saw a program geez, when it was over the weekend, debunking masks. We're not totally sure about masks. We're not totally sure about social distancing. Nobody's totally sure, which gives the opportunity for people to come in with these huge theories. The whole thing's fake, and our friends of mine, now this whole coronavirus thing is fake. We should have just let everybody carry on working. And you say, but look, it's been quite serious in New York and the UK and many other places, Spain and France. Yeah, but it would have been the same if they just left it open. And so everybody's got theories, and I must say, I don't know if you found your friends start sending you all these theories. I don't mind a good joke or something, but the theories that I'm getting, and I wish if they were just 2 paragraphs, but they're like a dissertation that I've got to spend 2 hours reading about somebody saying, this whole thing is just a waste of time. We should all be working. We should never have closed down anything. And we all have got a different view, fair enough. But it's just, if you leave it open to all the theories, you can spend 24 hours a day going through.
But this is, this is why I think that there is going to be a role now more than ever for a resurgence of real journalism. When at a time, even from an economic standpoint, journalists are not even being paid. It's going back to your days of not having a car, and taking a quarter cut in salary. And I think, and I'll add another point to this idea. I mean, I even said very, very early into the quarantine that I was longing for the days of, here's a little shout out to South Africa, for the Cape Times and the Argus, for the news to come via newspaper twice a day, in the morning and the afternoon, where at least I knew that people took the time to make sure that everything in there was fact-checked and double-checked and triple-checked and sourced. And I feel like we need that now.
No, I think we need it, but I don't think it's...
But you don't think it's coming?
No, I think we're moving further and further away. We're in Kardashian territory. We're in MTV territory. We're in mass social media territory. No, but as I was saying earlier, some people will make that decision themselves, and that's what we can do now. So I don't think you're going to get the latest generation, the Z generation, looking for that real news in the main. But if they do, they can certainly find it. And I mean, as you know, on any social media platform, you can find the right sources if you really don't want to look at crap, So certainly you can do it yourself, but I don't think it'll become a mainstream thing. I think it's amazing that it's like 60 Minutes has lasted so long. I think it's incredible that how long have they been going? 50 years, is it?
But I just finally set my TiVo, my DVR, to record 60 Minutes now, like to create a one pass, which is automatically recorded, because I'm clinging now to, yes, at times it's overproduced and it's a little, saccharine-like, and you can see, the old techniques about, like, just before they interview someone, you see them walking down the corridor, talking, or typing on their computer, and then they give you like a 14-second soundbite that goes, yes, I agree with that point. But I'm clinging to it because I know I can trust them. At least I believe I can.
Yeah. Actually caused me a few problems, the old 60 Minutes, because, well, not a few problems, but is Lara Logan still presenting?
I think so. I think she's still part of it.
Yeah, because, Lara Logan grew up in Durban, I think.
Right.
And she became a journalist for TV in the UK, a morning show. And I met up with her in Israel when I was doing a story in Israel on the war there. When I say the war there, there've been many wars, but this was, I think, was called Hot Lead, or must have been about 14 years ago. And anyway, so there were 2 teams there, and I never really fought with Ruda, but that was the only time I fought with Ruda, because I was saying that Lara Logan was such a great journalist and that we should do a story on her. and Ruda and her producer said to myself and my producer that we'd been sort of overawed by her, and she's not a great journalist. She just flirts, and she was accused of getting quite closely embedded with the troops to get stories. I don't know if you remember, but she eventually came out, and we did a carte blanche story on her, and I thought she was amazing. And when it was shown afterwards, Ruda said, no, she's a two-bit journalist. And then it was about, I guess, 4 years later, she got the job on 60 Minutes. And I mean, of all the people that have left South Africa, nobody's got a job like Laura Logan. There have been quite a few that are anchors over there, but you can't put them at the level of Laura. So I always just say, remember Laura Logan? She's on 60 Minutes now. But yeah, so that was my Laura Logan story. But yeah, I know she had a terrible time in Egypt. That's what, yeah. And
those
so
are, look, sometimes
to recover from that.
It's also funny, Derek, how when we think about journalists, reporters, their careers are often, I don't want to say made, but there are moments that they are propelled and elevated, and they're typically events. With Anderson Cooper, it was Hurricane Katrina. It's a moment when suddenly they're either in the right place at the right time, or it's pretty much that, right? Or the wrong place in the right time. And their coverage and their intensity, elevates them and amplifies them on a national and even a global stage. And I think that's not dissimilar from your story, right? It's just all these things that happen to us. Sometimes it's obvious why they've happened, and other times we're confounded by them, and they lead to something hopefully better down the road.
Yeah, because I mean, it's actually always been a mystery as to how I joined Carte Blanche, because they'd already done the auditions for a few months before they called on Ruda and myself, and then didn't make us do an audition and offered us the jobs, which was quite weird. But then the executive producer was a guy called Bill Forer. Do you remember Bill Forer? You might remember him. He was more of a song and dance guy, did the Miss South Africa, eventually did Miss World, produced it. And so once I'd said I would join and everything, he said, you know what, I'd just like to see a copy of the work you do. So I said, but Bill, what do you mean? So he said, no, well, you presenting. So I said, but yeah, it's live, watch on Saturday. I'll be on from 10 in the morning till 5 o'clock at night. Just tune in. Oh, okay. No, that's great. I'll watch. I don't think he'd ever seen me on television. That's my theory. So it's just one of those weird things. I'd seen him at an airport like the week before in Cape Town, and we'd had a brief chat.
Well, I mean, maybe that's
like
just
that.
Power of the gut, power of like.
Well,
just,
no,
just
Bill was like that. Bill flew by the seat of our pants. He was a lovely guy, but he would make decisions so randomly, but funny enough, they worked. And we used to have a thing called Red Nose Day when we did it for charity, and it was a fun day, broadcasting the whole day. And he would produce this script of literally 200 pages. And I knew by page 2 we'd be out of there, and we would have no script from page 2. But anyway, Bill was like that.
So I want to just shout out to anyone who's watching or listening. If you want to ask a question, you can, and you're on the Zoom after show. You can, if you don't want to come off camera or mic, you can send me a message privately. Or if you do, the spirit of these after shows is that it's, on one hand, it's me continuing the conversation with my guests, but on the other, it's just sometimes what did they say? What was the old saying? Children should be seen and not heard. I once heard, Derek, that a great moderator is one that you don't actually hear. That they may as well not have said a word. So I'm trying to be more like that. So I do have a question that has come in privately. It's a private question. So can you? Yes, I can. how much of your life is being a journalist or TV personality, and how much of it is just a regular job? So the perception of someone on the air is that it is all consuming.
And yeah, to give you an idea, so in normal times pre-COVID, probably did, okay, 4 presenters, basically got to do 1 story a week. So that's 2 days in the field. Then for that story, you'd have to do a voiceover, which is a half day. And then you'd be in the studio every second week. And then you would do your promos for the stories coming up, which would be another half day. And yeah, that would be the basis. But boy, there's no basis because they will phone you to do a story that afternoon. I think my record was going to a meeting at 10 o'clock on a Monday, and being on a flight to Kathmandu at 6 o'clock that evening, and having to get ready and get to the airport and get on that flight. And that happened actually a few times when we chat and have to leave that day. That's, yeah, it's just not a job if you like a diary. It's the one downfall of it. There's very little sort of excuses you can make, really. You can't say I've got a golf game, although I have got a golf game tomorrow. I've been waiting for the phone. Where's my phone? Because they seem to know when I'm playing golf, and then they book me for the next day. But anyway, they haven't now, I don't think.
But my perception,
should be right.
Derek, my perception with you is that you're able to, and maybe I'm wrong, which is that you can still check your celebrity and your status at the door and just be not a regular guy, but just go and, because you just come across as so down to earth. When you're on the golf course, sure, people are going to come up to you and they're going to want a selfie and an autograph and ask you a question about an interview. But I feel like maybe you just still have the ability to just, have a good golf game and try and get a birdie or two.
It doesn't happen too often, eh? It was nice to watch last night at the Heritage. Lots of birdies there. Yeah, what I tell people is that this isn't America. It's not Hollywood. I couldn't live that life. There's nothing I don't do here, because I think actually there are a few things. My wife will tell you that. There are a few things that I won't do because of, and one of them sadly is not going to live rugby, because I don't get to watch the rugby. That would be an exception. But that's when people obviously are there to enjoy it, and they're enjoying a few pints, and it does become a bit much. But generally, I mean, we will sit here and say, where should we go for dinner? We don't say, can't go there because I'll be swamped. I mean, generally, if you're going out, somebody will ask you for an autograph or a picture. But it's not like you can't go anywhere. And that the life that some of the celebrities lead, I think, around the world, UK, and especially America, Hollywood. Yeah, I don't know if I'd enjoy that life. It's being in a cage. It's you can't just slip down to the cafe for a pint of milk. Yeah, I couldn't lead a life like that. So yeah.
It's the best, I guess, the best of both worlds, because at the same time you've been able to sit down with these movers and these influencers, and from the Deepak Chopras to the Tutus to the Elon Musks of the world. I don't know if I asked you this question, and I looked for it and I tried to do a search for it. But did you must have, I don't want to assume anything. I'm going to be an ass, but did you ever meet Nelson Mandela?
Yeah. I had a few interviews with him. And I think I maybe had the last interview with him, which was the 2007 World Cup, where he surprised everybody at Monte Cassino, where they had a fan park there. And and I saw him come through, and I asked, people looking after him, could I just have a word with him? And to be honest, I think it was one of the last interviews that he gave. But yeah, I was just looking through old, because during lockdown you go through all your old pictures and everything. And I went through, I think we did on his 70th birthday with a lot of kids. It was a lot of fun. So I probably had, what the nicest interview I had with him was when, this is another sort of Prince Charles name drop. It's another name drop. But
I opened the door, it's fine.
Yeah. So this was my big moment, because I went to Star City where the cosmonauts train, and I tried some of the stuff they used during the Cold War to train the cosmonauts. Met the guys from NASA there, went to a pub there, because I was there with Mark Shuttleworth and following him. And so we went to this pub in Star City with a NASA house. And it's funny, talk about humility, and there are these guys handing out sort of beers and the odd cocktail and frozen margaritas. And, they were youngish guys, and, I'll have another margarita. And eventually you think, these guys are just slaving behind the bar. Let me just be friendly. And said, hey, guys, what do you do? And both of them had been into space, had been to the ISS, and one had been twice, I think. But it just shows you, what these guys are like. They're working behind the bar there. Anyway, continue my story. Then we flew to Kazakhstan, and we were in quarantine, would you believe? Another sort of quarantine for a week with the cosmonauts, and then eventually they blasted off into space, and which was great. And I don't know if you saw that little clip, because you're very close to the Soyuz there. It's not like in America where you're way back. And in fact, our cameraman got burnt because they let him stand right by the thing, and he actually got quite badly burnt by it. Wow. But it's very exciting, because you go up to the rocket with them and you just wave to them, and they go up this ladder and up to the top of the rocket. But anyway, to continue my story, I get sidetracked, you see. So Mark went into space, and he was there for, what was he there for, a couple of weeks. So I come back to South Africa, but then in the afternoons when the ISS is crossing over, whatever, we have this live crossing from our studio to Mark, and we chat to him in space, and he's floating around juggling things, and it's quite fun. But the one program, Madiba comes to the studio, so I sit with Madiba and a young girl called Michelle, who had leukemia, and she was, I think, 14, 15, and she didn't have much time left on Earth. And it was just one of those moments where Madiba was a little bit sort of struck by technology and seeing Mark there floating in space. So we had the three of us talking. So it was Madiba, Mark, or Michelle, and Madiba got Mark to propose to Michelle. And, she died, I think, within 6 weeks, 2 months of then. And her mom just sent me a message to say that was just such a wonderful thing for her before she passed away. It was so sad, but yeah. So I had wonderful moments with them. I mean, I'm not making it sound like, you don't want to be like my brother, because my brother says, but you met Elon Musk, Yeah, but how's he? I mean, are you in touch with him every day? It's not like that, These guys that you meet, very rarely do you stay in touch with them, and they become big buddies, and it does happen, but very rarely. I mean, Elon Musk, I interviewed him at his little factory there in Los Angeles where he was building those Falcon rockets. But since then, to try and get an interview these days, I mean, but the guy has flown. I mean, Elon Musk is out of this world.
You could probably meet him. You could probably meet him in one of the tunnels, because that's one of his latest projects as well, which is burrowing into this. So amazing.
The hyperlink.
Exactly. Let me tell you who is out of this world is you, Derek Watts, because I can see you
come on.
literally. You're literally
Well,
out of
look,
this
there
world
I am,
right now.
out of the world.
You're floating.
Yeah.
You're floating with Mark right now. I am going to shut down our Zoom after show
Good.
because
Okay, because we
leave
almost.
them.
Well, I've got to go to bed. I've got to play golf
I
tomorrow.
know. I figured.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to thank you so much. This was amazing, and I think the
We must
stories
do
and
it more often, hey? We must
we
do it more
can
often. We'll get you onto some of our shows. That's what we do.
anytime. You
Yeah.
know where to find. You know where to find me. I'm in the. I'm
Yeah.
in the I'm in the global, as I said, global headquarters, and sometimes I'm
Look at
on an
that.
island.
Look at that. Beautiful, man.
When I interviewed Sean Thompson, this was my background, the Gunston
Beautiful,
500.
hey? Yeah.
So it's
Another
been
great guy.
amazing. What a guy. Well, Derek, thank you so much. Have a good night, or what's left of your evening, and I'm sure
Well, it's
everybody
great
here thanks
to
you as
meet
well.
everybody, and to everybody out there, hey? To Jan and Stuart and Terry, who's just been. How about Terry?
Terry will make sure when you come to New York for one of your gigs, we
Does
will.
Terry always take part in your?
No. She only comes. She
No.
only pops in for famous people. So
Come on. Hey.
I don't do it. But no, it's good to see her as well. And we will provide the Corona for you when you come next.
This is a good thing, great thing. But we'll chat again soon, hey?
Thank you, Derek.
Absolutely.
Thanks to everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Bye, everyone.
By the time it gets to night there.
Good
Okay.
game.
I know.
Good game tomorrow.
Cheers.
Great job.
Cheers.